Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session looking at a bit of narrative poetry. Yes, we don't always do drama. We sometimes do a bit of narrative in a versy kind of way. I've broken down the text that we're doing today into something that now sort of has a sort of dialogue structure, in the sense we've got different readers reading different parts and a reader reading a narrator. But we are looking at the most pleasant song of Lady Bessy, the eldest daughter of King Edward IV, and how she married King Henry VII of the House of Lancaster. So this is the origin myth of the house of the Tudor dynasty, and we don't really know very much, or at least I don't know very much about this text. We don't appear to have the original manuscript, I think, as far as I can tell. We're Googling around. It was copied in the early 19th century, I believe, and it looks reasonably authentic. But there's always that lingering doubt, because I don't really know much more about this. With that kind of provenance of just going, oh, maybe there's something hinky about this. But I haven't found anything saying that it is. It does turn up in history books and does get quoted a lot, so it seems it's probably fine. It's probably fine. I'm just being paranoid. Ignore me. But it becomes part of our sort of extended history sequence, looking at different versions of history, especially looking at Richard III, of which we've already looked at Bosworth Field and the Ghost of Richard III, and the true tragedy of Richard III. Lots of Richard III's out there, and though this is focusing more on the other side of the fence, we're going to find out how the rebellion against Richard really got going. The real story, the story that you're all dying to hear. And reading the title character of the play, reading Lady Bessy as well as Porter Savage Richard III, French king, and Strange is.
Hello, I'm Emma Kemp. I'm an actor and I'm here in London.
Reading Humphrey, a not unimportant figure in the narrative, as well as a knight, Norfolk and Harrington, is.
Hi, I'm Desna from Lancaster.
Reading the narrator, who might also be given a name later on, is.
Liza Graham. I also might be given a name later on.
Reading Darby, as well as Stanley, Edward, Talbot, Uncle Tom Copley and all, is.
Lynsey Beauchamp, actor in Kirkcaldy.
And joining us to read Richmond later on in the text is.
Hi, I'm Eric, and I'm a horse with no name.
And I am your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading literally nothing because there are no stage directions. Once we get going, I'm just here to try and prompt people into thoughts. So without further ado, we're going to join the narrator. We're going to join Bessy and her father. Just in terms of names, remember there's going to be a lot of people having similar names because there are sort of there's all sorts. There are a lot of Stanleys. You're going to hear about a lot of Stanleys. Hopefully, it'll be clear which Stanley that you're hearing. Hopefully, enough that you can just slice a knife between them. Thank you. I'm here all week. Okay, narrator, take it away.
For Jesus' sake, be merry and glad. Be blithe of blood and bone and blee. And of your words be sober and sad, and a little while listen to me. I shall tell you how Lady Bessy made her moan, and down she kneeled upon her knee, before the Earl of Derby herself alone. These were her words, fair and free.
Who was your beginner? Who was your ground? Good Father Stanley, will you tell me? Who married you to the Margaret Richmond, a duchess of a high degree? And your son, the Lord George Strange, by that good lady you had him by, and Harden lands under your hands, and Molesdale also under your fee, your brother, Sir William Stanley, by Parliament, the Holt Castle, who gave him truly? Who gave him Romefield, that I now meant? Who gave him Chirkland to his fee? Who made him High Chamberlain of Cheshire, of that country far and near? They were all wholly at his desire. When he did call, they did appear. And also the forest of Delamere, to hunt therein both day and night, as often as his pleasure were, and to send for baron and knight. Who made the knight and lord of all? Good Father Stanley, remember thee. It was my father, that king royal, he set you in that room so high. Remember Richmond, banished, full bare, and lieth in Britain behind the sea. You may recover him of his care, if your heart and mind to him will agree. Let him come home and claim his right, and let us cry him King Henry. If you will maintain him with might, in Britain he needeth not long to tarry.
Go away, Bessy, the Lord then said. I tell thee now for certainty that fair words oft make fools full fain, when they be but found vain glory.
Oh, Father Stanley, to you I call. For the love of God, remember thee. Since my father, King Edward, that King Royal, at Westminster on his deathbed lay, he called to him my uncle Richard. So he did Robert of Brakenbury, and James Terrell, he was the third, and sent them to Ludlow in the West Country to fetch the Duke of York and the Duke of Clarence. These two lords, born of a high degree, the Duke of York should have been prince, and king after my father free. But a baleful game was then among, when they doomed these two lords to die. They had neither justice nor right, but had great wrong, alack. It was the more pity. Neither were they buried in St. Mary's, in church or churchyard or holy place. Alas, they had doleful destinies. Hard was their chance, worse was their disgrace. Therefore help, good Father Stanley, while you have space, for the love of God and mild Mary, or else, in time to come, you shall, alas, remember the words of Lady Bessy.
Good Lady Bessy, be content, for though your words be never so sweet, if King Richard knew, you must be shent, and perchance cast into prison deep. Then had you cause to wail and weep, and wring your hands with heavy cheer. Therefore, good lady, I you beseek to move me no more in this matter.
Oh, good Father Stanley, listen now and hear. Here is no more but you and I. King Edward, that was my father dear, on whose estate God had mercy, in Westminster, as he did stand on a certain day in a study, a book of reason he had in his hand, and so sore his study he did apply, that his tender tears fell on the ground. All men might see that stood him by. There were both earls and lords of land, but none of them durst speak but I. I came before my father the king, and kneeled down upon my knee, and desired him lowly of his blessing. And full soon he gave it unto me. And in his arms he could me thring, and set me in a window so high. He spake to me, full sore weeping. These were the words he said to me. Daughter, as thou wilt have my blessing, do as I shall counsel thee. And to ray words give good listening, for one day they may pleasure thee. Here is a book of reason. Keep it well, as you will have the love of me, neither to any creature do it tell, nor let no living lord it see, except it be to the Lord Stanley, the which I love full heartily. All the matter to him show you may, for he and his thy help must be. As soon as the truth to him is shown, and to your words he will agree. For there shall never son of my body begotten, that shall be crowned after me. But you shall be queen, and wear the crown, so doth express the prophecy. He gave me tax and tolland, and also diamonds to my degree, to get me a prince when it pleaseth Christ. The world is not as it will be. Therefore, good Father Stanley, grant my request. For the love of God, I desire thee. All is at your commandment down in the west, both knight and squire and the commonty. You may choose then where you like best. I have enough both of gold and fee. I want nothing but the strength of men, and good captains 2 or 3.
Go away, Bessy, the Lord then said. The Lord said then, to this will I never agree, for women oft time cannot feign. These words they be but vain glory. For, and I should treason begin against King Richard, his royalty, in every street within London, the eagle's foot should be pulled down. And as yet in his great favour I am, but then should I lose my great renown, I should be called traitor through the same, full soon in every market town. That were great shame to me and my name. I had rather spend £10,000.
Oh, Father Stanley, to you I make my moan. For the love of God, remember thee. It is not 3 days past and gone since my uncle Richard sent after me, a bachelor and a bold baron, a doctor of divinity, and bade that I should to his chamber gone, his love and his leman that I should be. And the queen that was his wedded fair, he would her poison and put away. So would he his son and his heir. Christ knoweth he is a proper boy. Yet had I rather burn in a tun on the tower hill that is so high, or that I would to his chamber come. His love and his leman will I not be. I had rather be drawn with wild horses 5 through every street of that city, or that good woman should lose her life. Good father, for the love of me. I am his brother's daughter dear. He is my uncle. It is no nay, or ever I would be his wedded fair. With sharp swords I will me slay, at his bidding if I were then, and followed also his cruel intent. I were well worthy to suffer pain, and in a fire for to be brent. Therefore, good Father Stanley, some pity take on the Earl Richmond and me, and the rather for my father's sake, which gave thee the lie of man so free. He crowned thee with a crown of lead. He holp thee first to that degree. He set thee the crown upon thy head, and made thee the lord of that country. That time you promised, my father dear, to him to be both true and just. And now you stand in a despair. Oh, Jesu Christ, who may men trust?
O good lady, I say again, your fair words shall never move my mind. King Richard is my lord and sovereign. To him I will never be unkind. I will serve him truly till I die. I will him take as I him find. For he hath given to mine and me his bounteous gift. Do me so bind.
Yet, good Father Stanley, remember thee, as I have said, so shall it prove. If he of this gift be so free, it is for fear, and not for love. For if he may to his purpose come, you shall not live these years 3. For these words to me he once did move. In Sandal Castle, underneath a tree, he said, there shall no branch of the eagle fly within England, neither far nor nigh, nor none of the Talbots to run him by, nor none of their lineage to the 9th degree, but he would them either hang or head, and that he sware full grievously. Therefore help, gentle lord, with all speed, for when you would fain, it will not be. Your brother dwelleth in the Holt Castle, a noble knight forsooth is he. All the Welsh men love him well. He may make a great company. Sir John Savage is your sister's son. He is well beloved within his shire. A great company with him will come. He will be ready at your desire. Gilbert Talbot is a captain pure. He will come with main and might. To you he will be fast and sure against my uncle king and knight. Let us raise an host with him to fight. Soon to the ground we shall him ding, for God will stand ever with the right. For he hath no right for to be king.
Go away, Bessy, the Lord can say. Of these words, Bessy, now let be. I know King Richard would not me betray for all the gold in Christianty. I am his subject, sworn to be true. If I should seek treason to begin, I and all mine full sore should rue. For we were as like to lose as win. Beside that, it were a deadly sin to refuse my king and him betray. The child is yet unborn that might moan in time and think upon that woeful day. Wherefore, good lady, I do you pray, keep all things close at your heart root. So now far past it is of the day, To move me more it is no boot.
Then from her head she cast her tire, her colour changed as pale as lead, her fax that shone as the gold wire, she tear it off besides her head, and in a swoon down can she swee. She spake not of a certain space, the Lord had never so great pity as when he saw her in that case. In his arms he gan her embrace, he was full sorry then for her sake, and the tears fell from his eyes apace. But at the last these words she spake. She said,
Christ, my soul I betake, for my body in Thames drowned shall be. For I know my sorrow will never slake, and my bones upon the sand shall lie. The fishes shall feed upon me their fill. This is a doleful destiny, and you may remedy this, and you will. Therefore, the bone of my death I give to thee.
and ever she wept as she were wood. The Earl on her had so great pity that her tender heart turned his mood. He said,
Stand up now, Lady Bessy. As you think best, I will agree. Now I see the matter you do not feign. I have thought in this matter as much as ye. But it is hard to trust women, for many a man is brought into great woe through telling to women his privity. I trust you will not serve me so, for all the gold in Christianity.
No, father, he is my mortal foe. On him fain broken would I be. He hath put away my brethren too, and I know he would do so by me. But my trust is in the Trinity. For your help we shall bail to him bring, and such a day on him to see, that he and his full sore shall rue.
O Lady Bessy, the Lord can say, betwixt us both forecast we must, how we shall letters to Richmond convey. No man to write I dare well trust, for if he list to be unjust, and us betray to King Richard, then you and I are both lost. Therefore, of the scribe I am afraid.
You shall not need none such to call. Good Father Stanley, hearken to me. What my father, King Edward, that King Royal, did for my sister, my Lady Wells, and me, he sent for a scrivener to lusty London. He was the best in that city. He taught us both to write and read full soon. If it please you, full soon you shall see. Lauded be God I had such speed, that I can write as well as he, and also indite and full well read. And that, Lord, soon shall you see, both English and also French, and also Spanish, if you had need.
The Earl said, You are a proper wench, Almighty Jesus be your speed, and give us grace to proceed out, that we may letters soon convey, in secret wise, and out of doubt, to Richmond, that lieth beyond the sea. We must depart, lady, the Earl said then, wherefore keep this matter secretly, in this same night betwixt 9 and 10, in your chamber I think to be. Look that you make all things ready. Your maids shall not our counsel hear, for I will bring no man with me but Humphrey Brereton, my true esquire.
He took his leave of that lady fair, and to her chamber she went full tight, and for all things she did prepare, both pen and ink and paper white. The Lord unto his study went, forecasting with all his might to bring to pass all his intent. He took no rest till it was night. And when the stars shone fair and bright, he him disguised in strange manner. He went unknown of any wight, no more with him but his esquire. And when he came her chamber near, full privily can he stand, to cause the lady to appear. He made a sign with his right hand. And when the lady there him wist, she was as glad as she might be. Charcoals in chimneys there were cast, candles on sticks standing full high. She opened the wicket and let him in, and said,
Welcome, lord and knight so free.
A rich chair was set for him, and another for that fair lady. They ate the spice and drank the wine. He had all things at his intent. They rested them as for a time, and to their study then they went. That lady so fair and free, with rud as red as rose in May, she kneeled down upon her knee, and to the Lord thus can she say.
But we'll pause there before then, because there's some fascinating details. I mean, there's this constant go away, Bessy. The father who just. You get the impression that the whole Tudor dynasty was created by pester power, by the nature of this narrative. So yeah, there's there's a lot, but there's an argument is made, an argument is won. Daddy needed a lot of talking round there. But what I quite like about this is it explicates an awful lot of people. So looking at this as part of potentially a series of things whereby because we've previously done Bosworth Field, I'm sort of looking at this of going, some of the problems we had with Bosworth Field was we weren't quite sure who anyone was. This text actually explains who some of the people in Bosworth Field were, and that's quite helpful. So I quite like some of that, and we do get explicated all these family relationships. There's, by the nature of the text, there's a certain amount of repetition of certain phrasing and certain stuff that's going on. And yeah, Darby is a old-fashioned chap, I think, in some of his views, I think it's fair to say. And but thoughts from the room, Lynsey?
Yeah, on that subject, I mean, it's not really what Lady Bessy says that changes Darby's mind. It's her emotional response, and sort of essentially she begins to lament her own death because this is so it's a kind of a it's a trope of it's women carry the emotional content of a story and the men respond to that as opposed to their kind of rational political arguments. Very interesting, but I think that was what struck me about that change of heart in Darby.
Yes, because she makes a very, very clear and rational argument for several pages at great length, and constantly it's go away, go away, go away. And you're right, that's what changes the room, as it were.
Yeah.
Other thoughts on the room? Eric?
It does feel a bit like a morality play, not a morality play, one of the mystery cycles, though, where you've got the sort of, not quite debate format, but kind of that element of sort of the power structure. Kind of, I don't know, maybe that's just me. I don't know, it's something very familiar about it, but I mean, yeah, it just kind of felt very mystery cycle-y. I don't know, maybe that's
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a precise date for it, but it's obviously after the Battle of Bosworth in 1485, and relatively close to that in date. So it in terms of writing style, it's bang on with some of the surviving mystery texts that we've got, and that kind of writing. So it's very much fitting within that school. Liza?
I think one of the reasons why it may be giving a mystery play vibe is because the meter is similar to a lot of mystery plays that we've read, and it's also got that 1500s feel to it. And not making any presuppositions about dating till we've read the whole thing, but it is interesting that we have to. I mean, this is definitely we have to justify that Bessy is not just being treasonous. She's not just being wily. She's trying to avoid this marriage proposition from her uncle Richard, and she's like, "Well, I would rather die than grant it. So if you can't help me, I guess I just have to die then." But there's also looking at it from the historical point of view now, rather than the point of view that may have been then, that Bessy is the daughter and namesake not only of Edward IV but of Elizabeth Woodville, who was thought to be, extremely wily, and was thought in fact to be a political power behind the throne. She certainly had a very large family who all got promoted to high positions when she became queen, so they were essentially their own faction. And you had to sort of beware of the Woodvilles, whatever you were doing, or solicit their help. So she's of the House of York through her father, but through her mother she's also very much a Woodville. Now I'm pretty sure the entire point of this poem is going to be to unite the white rose and the red later on. So
I can't imagine that it would go anywhere else.
So is there there certainly seems to be genuine feeling behind her reaction to Stanley's refusal, but is it also theater? Is the fainting and moaning and hair tearing and is it that her I'm pretty sure that it's meant to read as sincere, that it's meant to read that her life is in danger. But if I were staging this, I would have a conversation with that actor and say, how can we play this? Let's try it a variety of ways.
Yes, we aren't done in the household, as it were, though we're about to introduce a new character to the mix. We've had the mention of the Humphrey Brereton, my truest squire, who's being brought into this. I mean, there's also a sense of fear as well of, you are talking treason. Let's make sure there's nobody else in the room, or there is only someone in the room who you trust. Let's go to a chamber with pen and writing things down. Now that's a really dangerous thing, because that can be used against you. So there is this clandestine quality. It's slightly undermined, I think, by the fact that they have some wine. They have a little sit down first before they get round to the treason. And that's that feels very late medieval sort of ness. And now everyone sits down, has a little meal, and now we'll get on with the treason. So I quite like that. Anyway, we will move on. Having got comfy, kneel down upon her knee before her to a lord. Thus can Bessy say.
Good Father Stanley, I you pray, now here is no more but you and I. Let me know what you will say, for pen and paper I have ready.
He saith, commend me to my son George Strange, in Latham Castle there he doth lie. When I parted with him his heart did change, from Latham to Manchester he rode me by. Upon Salford Bridge I turned my horse again, my son George by the hand I hent. I held so hard, forsooth certain, that his foremost finger out of the joint went. I hurt him sore, he did complain. These words to him then I did say, son, on my blessing turn home again. This shall be a token another day. Bid him come like a merchant of Farnfield, of Copeland, or of Kendal, whither that it be, and 7 with him, and no more else, for to bear him company. Bid him lay away watch and ward, and take no heed to minstrel's glee. Bid him sit at the lower end of the board, when he is amongst his enemy. His back to the door, his face to the wall, that comers and goers shall not him see. Bid him lodge in no common hall, but keep him unknown right secretly. Commend me to my brother, Sir William, so dear. In the Holt Castle there dwelleth he. Since the last time that we together were in the forest of Delamere, both fair and free, and 7 hafts upon one herd were brought to the back, set to him and me. But a forester came with me, with a hoar beard, and said, good sir, a while rest ye. I have found you a hart in Darnell Park. Such a one I never saw with my eye. I did him crave, he said I should him have. He was brought to the broad heath truly. At him I let my greyhound then slip, and followed after a while I might dree. He left me lying in an old moss pit. A loud laughter then laughed he. He said, rise up and draw out your cousin. The deer is dead, come you and see. Bid him come as a merchant of Carnarvon, or else of Beaumaris, whether it be, and in his company 7 Welsh men, and come to London and speak to me. I have a great mind to speak with him. I think it long since I him see. Commend me to Sir John Savage that knight. Lady, he is my sister's son. Since upon a Friday at night before my bedside he kneeled down, he desired me, as I was uncle dear, many a time full tenderly, that I would lowly King Richard require if I might get him any fee. I came before my sovereign lord, and kneeled down upon my knee. So soon to me he did accord, I thanked him full courteously, and gat him £100 in Kent, to him and his heirs perpetually. Also a manor of a duchy rent, £200 he may spend thereby, and high sheriff of Worcestershire, and also the park of Tewkesbury. He hath it all at his desire. Therewith daily he may make merry. Bid him come as a merchant man of Westchester, that fair city, and 7 yeomen to wait him on. Bid him come to London and speak with me. Commend me to good Gilbert Talbot, a gentle esquire forsooth is he. Once on a Friday, full well I wot, King Richard called him traitor high, but Gilbert to his falchion pressed, a bold esquire forsooth is he. There durst no sergeant him arrest, he is called so parlous of his body. In the Tower Street I meet him then, going to Westminster to take sanctuary. I light beside my horse I was upon, the purse from my belt I gave him truly. I bade him ride down into the northwest, perchance a night in England I might him see. Wherefore pray him at my request to come to London to speak with me.
Then said the royal lord so just,
Now you have written and sealed have I. There is no messenger that we may trust to bring these writings into the West Country, because our matter it is so high, lest any man would us descry.
Humphrey Brereton, then, said Bessy, hath been true to my father and me. He shall take the writings in hand and bring them into the West Country. I trust him best of all this land, on this message to go for me. Go to thy bed, father, and sleep full soon, and I shall wait for you and me. By tomorrow, at the rising of the sun, Humphrey Brereton shall be with thee.
She brings the lord to his bed so trimly dight, all that night where he should lie. And Bessy waked all that night, there came no sleep within her eye. In the morning, when the day can spring, up riseth young Bessy, and maketh haste in her dressing. To Humphrey Brereton gone is she. But when she came to Humphrey's bower bright, with a small voice called she. Humphrey answered that lady bright, saith,
Who calleth on me so early?
I am King Edward's daughter, right, the Countess Clear, young Bessy, in all haste with mien and might, and must come speak with the Earl of Derby.
Humphrey cast upon him a gown and a pair of slippers upon his feet. Forth of his chamber then they are gone, and went with that lady fair and sweet. She brought him to the bedside, whereas the earl was laid to sleep. When the Earl of Humphrey saw it that tide, I know thou canst secret counsel keep, said,
My love, my trust, my life, my land, all this, Humphrey, doth lie in thee. Therefore, that thou mayest understand, in secret wise I will tell thee. Thou mayest make, thou mayest mar all. Thou may undo both Bessy and me. take these 6 letters in thy hand withal, and bring them into the north country. They be written on the back side whither the letters brought should be. For in every country where thou dost ride, I pray thee, take no company.
He received these letters 6 full right. Into the west wind would he. Then met him that lady bright. She said,
Humphrey, abide and speak with me. A poor reward I shall give thee. It shall be but £3. If I be queen, and may live, surely better rewarded shall thou be. A little wit God hath sent me. I pray thee, take some counsel of me. When thou ridest into the west country, I pray thee, take no company. Sit not too long, nor drink the wine, lest in heart thou be too merry. Such words thou may cast out that time, tomorrow for thought that it may be.
Humphrey at Bessy received these nobles 9. With a bowl of wine she could him away. He took his leave of this lady Sheen. Straight to the Holt Castle he took the way.
And we'll just pause while he's riding away. It's it's a bit of a ride to Holt Castle, so that seems reasonable enough. I don't know. There's something about Darby that just feels like this that is almost comic, and there's just this rambling series of letters. So you're just going, do you remember when I dislocated your finger? Of your, it's just sort of these random little anecdotes. Presumably, basically, actually, it's just the basic meat of the letter is actually Lady Bessy is just writing that by herself, and all he's doing is saying, and address that one to Sir William, and that one to Sir John Savage, and and he's just regaling her with anecdotes while it's going on, and which sort of makes some of the stuff earlier. I'm just tonally, I'm finding this very interesting. It's so nicely domestic as well. I just love the way they go. She doesn't sleep. She goes out. Humphrey just goes, "Who is it?" It's 4:00 in the morning. Go away. And then takes it to Darby's bedroom, and it's all the details. I'm really enjoying. Thoughts from the room. Liza.
Yeah, she's like, okay. It's interesting how she calls him father throughout. He's of course going to be her father-in-law, and she wants him to be. She wants to marry his son, but it's by no means a done deal yet. And but she certainly treats him with great courtesy. She's all like, gives him the spice wine. She's like, sleep, go get some sleep. I'll do the treasonous part. Because if he writes the letters, they'll each be 6 pages long, and
he'd
she's
still be
also
writing them. I mean, you'd have barely got past, dear.
And she's also she's advising Humphrey on OPSEC. She's saying, don't take with thee no company, and thou mayest make, thou mayest mar all. No, wait, that's him. But she says, take no company, sit not too long, nor drink the wine, lest in heart thou be too merry. Such words thou mayest cast out, that just don't, if they offer you a drink, just don't take them up on it, because you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to commit some treason here. So
yeah, well, the other rebellions have fallen for because of such things. So yeah. Yeah, I'm liking all the details. I'm sort of they're charming me in many ways beyond some of the other things. Lynsey.
Yeah, just to make the point that Lady Bessy is practical and to the point, whereas Darby was kind of like, oh yeah, I nearly broke his finger, and oh yeah, there was this deer. I mean, I think you're right. It is comic, and Lady Bessy is just like.
Yeah, I mean, she's just she is leading the rebel resistance, and is all over that, all over it. Yeah. Okay, let's. Any other thoughts? Otherwise, we'll move on. So back to the narrator. We've presumably made it all the way now to Holt Castle, and see where we go from there.
He took his leave of this Lady Sheen, straight to Holt Castle he took the way. When Sir William Stanley did him see there, he said to himself, Benedicite.
Humphrey Brereton, what makest thou here, that here doth ride so hastily? How fareth that lord, my brother dear, that lately was made the Earl of Derby? Is my brother dead, so life and dear? Or with King Richard, what counsel is he? If he be suspected of crime or fault, and taken to the Tower so high, London gates shall tremble and quake. But my brother borrowed shall be. Tell me, Humphrey, without letting, why whither thou ridest so hastily?
Break that letter, said Humphrey to him. Behold, sir, then, and you may see.
When Sir William Stanley looked the letter upon, he stood full still in a study then. Answer to Humphrey he would give none, but still he gowers upon a stave's end. He pulled the letter in pieces 3. Into the water he could it fling.
Have here, Humphrey, said the knight so free, I will thee give 100 shilling, thou shalt not tarry here this tide. Straight to Latham wind must he.
Alas, said Humphrey, I may not ride. My horse is tired, as you may see. Since I came from London city, neither night nor day, I tell you plain, there came no sleep within my eye. On my business I thought certain.
Lay thee down, Humphrey, he said, and sleep. I will give space of hours 3. A fresh horse I thee behight shall bring thee through the west country.
Humphrey slept not hours 2, but on his journey well, thought he. A fresh horse was brought him to bring him through the west country. Then Humphrey Brereton with mickle might hard at Latham knocketh he.
Who is it, said the porter, this time of the night that so hastily calleth on me?
The porter then in that state, the time of the night riseth he, and forthwith opened he the gate, and receiveth both my horse and me. Then said Humphrey Brereton,
Truly, with the Lord strange speak would I fain, from his father the Earl of Derby, where then was I welcome that time certain.
A torch burned that same tide, and other lights that he might see, and brought him to the bedside, whereas the Lord strangely. The Lord mused in that tide. Said Humphrey Brereton,
What makest thou here? How fareth my father, that noble lord, in all England that hath no peer?
Humphrey took him a letter in hand, and said,
Behold, my lord, and you may see. When the Lord strange looked the letter upon, the tears trickled down from his eye. He said, We must come under a cloud, we must never trusted be. We may sigh and make great moan, this world is not as it will be. Have here, Humphrey, £3. Better rewarded may thou be. Commend me to my father dear, his daily blessing he would give me. He said also in that tide, Tell him also thus from me, if I be able to go or ride, this appointment keep alive.
When Humphrey received the gold, I say, straight to Manchester rideth he. The sun was light up of the day, he was ware of the warden and Edward Stanley. The one brother said to the other, as they together their matins did say,
Behold, he said, my own dear brother, yonder comes Humphrey Brereton, it is no nay, my father's servant at command. Some hasting tidings bringeth he.
He took them either a letter in hand, and bade them behold, read, and see. They turned their backs shortly, though, and read those letters readily. Up they leap and laughed too, and also they made game and glee.
Fair, fair our father, that noble lord, to stir and rise, now beginneth he. Buckingham's blood shall be roken, that was beheaded in Salisbury. Fair for that countess, the king's daughter, that fair lady, young Bessy. We trust in Jesus in time hereafter to bring thy love over the sea. Have here, Humphrey, of either of us shillings 10. Better rewarded may thou be.
He took the gold of the 2 gentlemen, to Sir John Savage then rideth he. He took him then a letter in hand, and bade him behold, read, and see. When Sir John Savage looked the letter upon, all blackened the knight's blee.
Woman's wisdom is wondrous to hear, lo. My uncle is turned by young Bessy, whether it turn to wail or woe, at my uncle's bidding will I be.
To Sheffield Castle at that same tide, in all the haste that might be, Humphrey took his horse and forth could ride, to Gilbert Talbot fair and free. He took him a letter in his hand.
Behold, said Humphrey, read and see.
When he the letter looked upon, a loud laughter laughed he. Fair fall that lord in his renown there, to stir and rise beginneth he.
Fair fall Bessy, that countess dear, that such counsel could give truly. Commend me to my neighbour, nigh of blood, the young Earl of Shrewsbury. Bid him neither dread for death nor good in the Tower of London if he be. I shall make London gates to tremble and quake, but my nephew borrowed shall be. Commend me to the countess, that fair make, King Edward's daughter, young Bessy. Tell her I trust in Jesu, that hath no peer, to bring her love over the sea. Commend me to that lord, to me so dear, that lately was made the Earl of Derby, and every hair of my head for a man counted might be. With that lord, without any dread, with him will I live and die. Have here, Humphrey, £3. Better rewarded may thou be. Look to London gates thou ride quickly, in all the haste that may be. Commend me to that countess, young Bessy. She was King Edward, daughter dear. Such a one she is, I say truly, in all this land she hath no peer.
He took his leave at that time, straight to London rideth he, in all the haste that he could wind his journey, greatly he did apply. But when he came to London, as I ween, it was but a little before the evening. There was he where, walking in a garden, both the Earl and Richard the King. When the Earl did Humphrey see, when he came before the King, he gave him a privy twink, there with his eye, that down falls Humphrey on his knees kneeling.
Welcome, Humphrey, said the lord. I have missed thee weeks 3.
I have been in the West, my lord. There born and bred was I, for to sport and play me certain, among my friends far and nigh.
Tell me, Humphrey, said the Earl then, how fareth all that same country?
Of all the countries I dare well say, they be the flower of chivalry. For they will bicker with their bows, they will fight and never fly.
Tell me, Humphrey, I thee pray, how fareth King Richard, his commenty?
When King Richard heard him say so, in his heart he was merry. He with his cap that was so dear, he thanked that lord most courteously, and said,
Father Stanley, thou art to me near. You are the chief of our poor commenty. Half England shall be thine. It shall be equal between thee and me. I am thine, and thou art mine. So two fellows will we be. I swear by Mary, that mild maiden, I know no more such under the sky. When I am king, and wear the crown, then I will be chief of the poor commenty. Task nor mise I will make none, in no country far nor nigh. If their goods I should take and pluck them down, for me they would fight full faintly. There is no riches to me so rich, as is the love of our poor commenty.
When they had ended all their speeches, they took their leave full heartily. And to his bower King Richard is gone, the Earl and Humphrey Brereton to Bessy's bower anon were gone.
And we'll pause there because there's a bit of dancing around. So the Earl is that Derby?
Yes,
because they've gone back to London. So we've figured out who that is. Yes. Sorry, I got very confused. There were a couple of bits where the narration got a bit entangled with Humphrey, but don't worry, that's fine. That happens. And Strange didn't get to say anything, which was a shame. We will meet Strange again later, though Strange did speak. But yeah, so he goes on this round trip, and it's. I have to say, I wasn't sure about whether this bit worked or not when I was going through the text, because going, and then they go there, and then they go there, but actually it has a really nice momentum to it, and then that accidentally stumbles across Richard the Third. He just wanders into the lion's den, and they're all just going, "Oh yes, everyone's really happy at the moment. Lord, it's great,
Yeah.
fab."
And Richard is like, Stanley, you're so loyal, and you know what? I'm gonna treat the poor community really well because I can't take their goods because then they'd hate me. So, and Richard is also calling Stanley father because Richard wants. Well, I don't know. Huh? Why is Richard calling Stanley father? Who knows?
Wants to marry Bessy, doesn't he?
Well, yes, but Bessy isn't Stanley's daughter. She's Edward's daughter.
Oh, pish tush.
And other colorful expressions.
Yeah, there are some weird flanging around some of the edges about I guess because he's older, an older father figure to him. I don't know. Maybe on some level, I don't know how related they are because everyone's a bit related to everybody else. I've got nothing more on that, by the way. I'm just saying words. I'm waiting for somebody else to indicate they have a thought. Emma.
I really enjoyed Humphrey's traveling scene. I think it could be really fun. I'm kind of imagining, we see on stage sometimes, him kind of galloping in the middle, and different people and backdrops keep appearing behind him and kind of disappearing as he goes. Something funny like that, I think, would be really entertaining.
Yes,
and the fact that he keeps getting gold.
Hobby horses, and people keep giving you new ones as you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they give him gold, and I really like his first layoff, where he's going there, and Sir William just goes, "Right, off you go," and he's going, "I've been riding all day. The horse is dead." He says, "Okay, well, very well. You can have 3 hours sleep. I'll give you a horse. Off you go." And he only takes 2 hours rest.
A moment of silence for the death of Humphrey's butt.
And to say, very sensibly, he takes the money as he goes along, and yeah, which is cool.
Yes, I like the specification of amounts that different people pay him. Like, £3 seems like the standard fee, but some people give him less and some give him more. But I love that at the beginning, Lady Bessy, she gives him the £3 and she's like, "This isn't much. I'm sorry. If I become queen, I'll do better. Just, take this for now." And then, everyone keeps tipping him. And by the end, he's like, yes. It's all about the sovereigns.
Yeah. That horse is getting slower and slower just because of the weight.
Yes, I hope he used some of it to buy carrots for the horse.
Okay, any other thoughts? No? Okay, so back to home base. Let's see the reception that Bessy gives to Humphrey. Narrator. When Bessy?
I am sorry, I be scrolling.
It was the middle of the speech, so
it was.
It's the last 2 lines of when they had ended.
Ah, yes. I see. When Bessy, Humphrey did... the Earl and Humphrey Brereton to Bessy's bower anon were gone. When Bessy, Humphrey did see anon, she took him in her arms and kissed him ×3.
"Welcome," she said, "Humphrey Brereton. How hast thou sped in the West Country? I pray thee, tell me quickly, and anon."
Into a parlour they went from thence. There were no more but he and she.
"Humphrey," said Bessy, "tell me ere we go hence some tidings out of the West Country. If I shall send for yonder prince to come over the sea for the love of me, and if King Richard should him convince, alas, it were great ruth to see, or murdered among the Stanleys' blood to be. Indeed, that were great pity. That sight on that prince I would not see for all the gold in Christianity. Tell me, Humphrey, I thee pray, how hast thou sped in the West Country? What answer of them thou had now say, and what reward they gave to thee?"
By the 3rd of May it shall be seen in London all that they will be. Thou shalt in England be a queen, or else doubtless that they will die.
Thus they proceed forth the winter, then their counsel they kept close, all 3. The Earl he wrought by prophecy certain, in London he would not abide or be. But in the suburbs without the city, an old inn chosen hath he. Drew an eagle foot on the door, truly, that the western men might know where he did lie. Humphrey stood on a high tower then, he looked into the west country. Sir William Stanley and 7 in green, he was ware of the eagle drawn. He drew himself so wondrous nigh, and bade his men go into the town, and drink the wine, and make merry. Into the same inn he went full pressed, whereas the earl his brother lay. Humphrey full soon into the west looks over a long lea. He was ware of the Lord Strange, and 7 in green, come riding into the city. When he was aware of the eagle drawn, he drew himself so wondrously nigh. He bade his men go into the town, certain, and drink the wine, and make merry. And he himself drew then, whereas his father in the inn lay. Humphrey looked into the west, I say, 16 in green, then did he see. He was aware of the warden and Edward Stanley come riding both in one company. When they were aware of the eagle drawn, the gentlemen they drew it nigh, and bade their men go into the town, and drink the wine, and make merry. And did go themselves into the same inn full pressed, where the earl their father lay. Yet Humphrey beholdeth into the west, and looketh unto the north country. He was ware of Sir John Salvage and Sir Gilbert Talbot come riding both in one company. When they were aware of the eagle drawn, themselves drew it full nigh, and bade their men go into the town to drink the wine and make merry. They did go themselves into the same inn, whereas the earl and Bessy lie, where all the lords together were. Amongst them all was Bessy full busy. With goodly words Bessy then said there,
Lords, what will you do for me? Will you relieve yonder prince that is exiled beyond the sea? I would not have King Richard him to convince for all the gold in Christianity.
The Earl of Derby came forth then, these words he said to young Bessy.
10,000 pounds will I send, Bessy, for the love of thee, and 20,000 eagles' feet, the Queen of England for to make thee.
Then Bessy, full lowly, the Earl did greet, and thanked his honour most heartily. Sir William Stanley came forth then, these words he said to fair Bessy.
Remember, Bessy, another time, who doth the most, Bessy, for thee 10,000 coats that shall be red certain, in an hour's warning ready shall be. In England thou shalt be our queen, or doubtless I will die.
Sir John Savage came forth then, these words he said to young Bessy.
1,000 marks for thy sake, certain, will I send thy love beyond the sea.
Sir Gilbert Talbot came forth then, these were the words he said to Bessy.
10,000 marks for thy sake, certain, I will send to beyond the sea.
The Lord Strange came forth then, these were the words he said to Bessy.
A little money and few men will bring thy love over the sea. Let us keep our gold at home, said he, for to wage our company. For if we should send it over the sea, we should but put our gold in jeopardy.
Edward Stanley came forth then, these were the words he said to Bessy.
Remember, Bessy, another time, who that now doth the best for thee, for there is no power that I have, nor no gold for to give thee. I will be under my father's banner, if God me save, there either to live or die.
Bessy came forth before the lords all, and down she falleth upon her knee.
19,000 of gold I shall send my love behind the sea, a love letter and a gold ring, from my heart root right will I. Who shall be the messenger the same to bring, both the gold and the writing over the sea? Humphrey Brereton, said Bessy, I know him trusty and true certain, therefore the writing and the gold truly by him shall be carried to Little Brittany.
Alas, said Humphrey, I dare not take in hand to carry the gold over the sea. These galley ships, they be so strange. They will me nigh so wondrously. They will me rob, they will me drown, they will take the gold from me.
Hold thy peace, Humphrey, said Bessy then. Thou shalt it carry without jeopardy. Thou shalt have no casket nor any mail, Nor budget nor cloak sack shall go with thee. 3 mules that be stiff and strong withal, sore loaded with gold shall they be, with saddles side skirted, I do tell thee. Wherein the gold, so will I. If any man feign whose is the ship truly, that saileth forth upon the sea, say it is the Lord Lisley. In England and France well beloved is he.
Then came forth the Earl of Derby. These words he said to young Bessy. He said,
Bessy, thou art to blame to appoint any ship upon the sea. I have a good ship of my own, shall carry Humphrey with the mules 3. An eagle shall be drawn upon the mast-top, that the Italians may it see. There is no freak in all France, the eagle that dare come knee. If anyone ask whose ship it is, then say, it is the Earls of Derby.
Humphrey took the 3 mules then. Into the west wind would he. Without all doubt, at Liverpool he took shipping upon the sea. With swift wind and a liart he sailed so upon the sea to Bigram's Abbey in Little Britain, whereas the English prince lie.
And we'll pause there. He's got to Brittany. And yeah, they've got a real thing about their branding. They're really they're you know what happened? He ordered far too many T-shirts, for the local football team or something. And it's just, look, we've got all these eagle claw things, and we've got to use them somehow. Let's start a war. Anyone else feeling sorry for the 3 mules? You're just going, no one thought about the poor mules. Thoughts in the room about this particular treasonous plot in a pub, or this inn. Lynsey.
Yes, I'm sort of getting the Royster Doyster vibe from it now. I wasn't sure before, but I think this is where we are.
Okay, well, that's that. Yeah, okay. I do like the fact that there are slightly differing opinions about what to do with the gold. It's like, should we send it all to France? And Strange is sort of going, well, we could keep it in the country because, we're going to need to hire some things over here, and, maybe we shouldn't just send it all to the French. That might not be great. Obviously, slightly more complicated relationship with lands in on the continent. Liza.
Yeah, I like that Humphrey, first of all, he's very sensibly saying, if I take that much gold and book passage on a normal boat with lots of other people, I'm going to get robbed. There's no way. And he's almost got out of doing this mission. And then Derby is like, I have my own boat and I'll just send you and some mules and all the gold. And Humphrey's like, FML, dude.
Yeah. Eric.
I just feel sorry for the horses, like sort of being exhausted all the time. Sort of, it feels very cartoony, like sort of that horse where you that case where you kind of see horses like this sort of cross-eyed and tongue sticking out half dead. But yeah, what is with the eagles? I get that like they're the symbol and stuff, but still.
And the fact that it uses the repetition as well so nicely. Whereas I initially thought the repetition might be a hindrance, but it's this thing of and now these people are coming, and now these people. It goes up to the tower, and oh look, there's some more people coming with their entourage, and they all go to the pub. But actually, there's something really quite joyous about it, and and again they all pledge their allegiance, and they all pledge however much money, and it's thunder, thunder, thundercats ho, and they're things that I thought might be actually a bit of a negative, actually sort of bounce along really quite nicely, actually, and yeah, you can see where it's going. But and I'm not saying I wouldn't trim it back a bit, but there's some it's really it's got a bit of bounce. Lynsey, were you wanting to dive in?
No, I was only just having a slightly facetious image of, if the hobby horses that we were talking about earlier then became the struggling mules of this bit, it could be quite fun. That was all.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of fun in that sort of physical storytelling kind of vibe that goes with this. That it's very fleet of foot, and just constantly turning and changing directions, and though I think it's very important to make it clear that Bessy and Humphrey Brereton are just good friends. However much Liza was trying to sort of intimate, in her performance earlier.
I've generally been thinking, I don't think that this is authorial intention, but if you were staging it, like, there are, if you wanted to make an argument that Bessy is using intimacy as a persuasion tool, the text lets you make that point. It would be subverting it. Like I said, I don't think the author intends that. But, if you wanted to be a little spicy with your production, there's scope. I
think there's definitely intimacy intimated by. There is authorial intent to suggest that they are very close people, and you'll find out why I say that in about 30 seconds' time. Liza, could you read the next 4 lines, please?
Yes, I'll back up a little also. He so sailed upon the sea to Begram's Abbey in Little Britain, whereas the English prince lie. The porter was a Cheshire man. Well he knew Humphrey when he him see. Humphrey knocked at the gate truly, whereas the porter stood it by and welcomed me full heartily, and received then my mules 3.
Oh, so the narrator has slipped. It's Humphrey Brereton. I know. Desna doesn't know what to read anymore now because it's autobiographical. He was there, man.
And this explains some of the confusion in the text earlier.
That might just be my formatting.
That might just okay.
The text is a little confused, so it does look like it's a bit of a slip from the author. Occasionally, it leaps to me and my. Most of the time, it's he. It accidentally let that one through. So now that everyone's mind's blown, let's continue with the narrative. So there's another porter, there's another gate. Humphrey, take it away.
I shall thee give in this breed to thy reward £3.
I will none of thy gold, the porter said, nor Humphrey none of the fee. I will open thee the gate certain to receive thee and the mules 3. For a Cheshire man born am I certain, from the Malpas but miles 3.
The porter opened up the gates that time and received him and the mules 3. The wine that was in the hall that time he gave to Humphrey Brereton, truly.
Alas, said Humphrey, how should I do? I am strayed in a strange country. The Prince of England I do not know, before I did him never see.
I shall thee tell, said the porter then. The Prince of England, know shall ye, lo, where he sitteth at the butts certain, with other lords 2 or 3. He weareth a gown of velvet black, and it is cutted above the knee, with a long visage and pale and black. Thereby the prince know may ye. A wart he hath, the porter said, a little also above the chin. His face is white, his wart is red, no more than the head of a small pin. You may know the prince certain, as soon as you look upon him truly.
He received the wine of the porter then. With him he took the mules 3. When Humphrey came before the prince, he falleth down upon his knee. He delivereth the letters which Bessy sent, and so did he the mules 3. A rich ring with a stone, thereof the prince glad was he. He took the ring of Humphrey then, and kissed the ring ×3. Humphrey kneeled still as any stone, as sure as I do tell to thee. Humphrey of the prince answer got none, therefore in heart was he heavy. Humphrey stood up then full of skill, and then to the prince said he,
Why standest thou so still at thy will, and no answer dost give to me? I am come from the Stanley's blood so dear, King of England, for to make thee a fair lady. Then thou shalt have to thy fair. There is not one in all Christianity. She is a countess, a king's daughter, Humphrey said. The name of her, it is Bessy. She can write and she can read. Well can she work by prophecy. I may be called a lewd messenger. For answer of thee I can get none. I may sail home with heavy cheer. What shall I say when I come home?
The prince, he took the Lord Lee, and the Earl of Oxford was him nigh. The Lord Ferrys would not him beguile, truly. To council they are gone all three. When they had their counsel taken, to Humphrey then turned he.
Answer, Humphrey, I can give none truly within the space of weeks 3.
The mules into a stable were taken anon, the saddle skirts unopened were. Therein he found gold great plenty for to wage a company. He caused the abbot to make him cheer.
In my stead now let him be. If I be king and wear the crown, well quiet abbot shalt thou be.
Early in the morning they made them known, as soon as the light they could see. With him he taketh his lords 3, and straight to Paris he took his way. And Harriet of arms they made ready, of men and money they could him pray, and ships to bring them over the sea.
The Stanley's blood for me hath sent the King of England for to make me, and I thank them for their intent, for if ever in England I wear the crown, well acquitted the King of France shall be.
Then answered the King of France anon.
Men nor money he getteth none of me, nor no ship to bring him over the sea. In England, if he wear the crown, then will he claim them for his own, truly.
With this answer departed the prince anon, and so departed the same tide. And the English lords 3 to Begram's Abbey soon could they ride. There as Humphrey Brereton then lee.
Have, Humphrey, 1,000 mark here. Better rewarded may thou be. Commend me to Bessy, that countess clear. Before her and never did I see. I trust in God she shall be my fear. For her I will travel over the sea. Commend me to my father Stanley, to me so dear. My own mother married hath he. Bring him here a love letter full right, and another to young Bessy. Tell her I trust in Jesus full of might, that my queen that she shall be. Commend me to Sir William Stanley, that noble knight in the West Country. Tell him that about Michaelmas certain in England I do hope to be. At Milford Haven I will come in, with all the power that may make I. The first town I will come in shall be the town of Shrewsbury. Pray, Sir William Stanley, that noble knight, that night he will look on me. Commend me to Sir Gilbert Talbot, that royal knight, he much in the North Country. And Sir John Savage, that man of might. Pray them all to look on me, for I trust in Jesus Christ, so full of might in England for to abide and be.
I will none of thy gold, Sir Prince, said Humphrey then, for none sure will I have of thy fee. Therefore keep thy gold thee within, for to wage thy company. If every hair were a man, with thee, Sir Prince, will I be.
That thus Humphrey Brereton his leave hath ta'en, and saileth forth upon the sea. Straight to London rideth he then, there as the Earl and Bessy lay. He took them either a letter in hand, and bade them behold, read, and see. The Earl took leave of Richard the King, and into the west wind would he. He left Bessy in Leicester then, and bade her lie in privity.
For if King Richard knew thee here anon, in a fire burned must thou be. Straight to Leyden the Earl is gone, there as the Lord Strange then lee. He sent the Lord Strange to London to keep King Richard's company.
Sir William Stanley made anon 10,000 coats readily, which were as red as any blood. There on the hart's head was set full high, which after were tried both trusty and good as any could be in Christianity. Sir Gilbert Talbot 10,000 dogs in 1 hour's warning for to be, and Sir John Savage 15 white hoods, which would fight and never flee. Edward Stanley had 300 men, there were no better in Christianty. Sir Rhys ap Thomas, a knight of Wales, certain, 8,000 spears brought he. Sir William Stanley sat in the Holt Castle, and looked over his head so high.
We Which way standeth the wind? Can any tell? I pray you, my men, look and see.
The wind, it standeth southeast.
So said a knight that stood him by. This night yonder prince truly into England entereth he. He called a gentleman that stood him nigh, his name was Roland of Warburton. He bade him go to Shrewsbury that night, and bid yonder prince come in. But when Roland came to Shrewsbury, the portcullis it was let down. They called him Henry Tidder in scorn truly, said in England he should wear no crown. Roland bethought him of a while then, and tied a writing to a stone, and threw the writing over the wall, certain, and bade the bailiffs to look it upon. They opened the gates on every side, and met the prince with procession, and would not in Shrewsbury there abide, but straight he dressed him to Stafford town. King Richard heard then of his coming. He called his lords of great renown. The Lord Percy he came unto the king, and upon his knees he falleth down.
I have 30,000 fighting men for to keep the crown with thee.
The Duke of Norfolk came to the king anon, and down he falleth upon his knee. The Earl of Surrey, that was his heir, were both in one company.
We have either 20,000 men here for to keep the crown with thee.
The Lord Latimer and the Lord Lovell and the Earl of Kent he stood him by. The Lord Ross, the Lord Scrope, I you tell, they were all in one company. The Bishop of Durham, he was not away. Sir William Bonner, he stood him by. The good Sir William of Harrington, as I say, said he would fight and never fly. King Richard made a messenger, and sent him into the west country, and bid the Earl of Derby make him bone.
And bring 20,000 men unto me, or else the Lord Strange his head I will him send, and doubtless his son shall die. For hitherto his father I took for my friend, and now he hath deceived me.
Another herald appeared then to Sir William Stanley, that doughty knight, bid him bring me 10,000 men, or else to death he shall be dight. Then answered that doughty knight, and spake to the herald without letting.
Say upon Bosworth field I mind to fight, on Monday early in the morning. Such a breakfast I him behight as never did knight to any king. The messenger home can him get to tell King Richard this tiding. Fast together his hands then could he ding, and said the Lord Strange should surely die, and put him into the Tower of London, for at liberty he should not be.
Let us leave Richard and his lords full of pride, and talk we more of the Stanley's blood, that brought Richmond over the sea with wind and tide, from Little Brittany to England over the flood. Now is Earl Richard into Stafford come, and Sir William Stanley to Little Stone. The prince had rather than all the gold in Christianty to have Sir William Stanley to look upon. A messenger was made ready anon that night to go to Little Stone. Sir William Stanley he rideth to Stafford town with a solemn company ready bone. When the knight to Stafford was coming, that Earl Richmond might him see, he took him in his arms then, and there he kissed him, times 3.
The welfare of thy body doth comfort me more than all the gold in Christianity.
Then answered that royal knight there, and to the prince these words spake he.
Stanley?
I'm so sorry, my script has jumped.
Remember man, both night and day.
Oh my god. Sorry, I am absolutely lost. I seem to be. So, could someone give me a? Sorry, everyone. Could someone give me a line to just search by?
Remember man, comma, both night and day.
Night and day. Right, I'm here. Apologies. Okay. Remember man both night and day, who doth now the most for thee. In England thou shalt wear a crown, I say, or else doubtless I will die. A fairer lady than thou shalt have for thy fear. Was there never in Christianity? She is a countess, a king's daughter, and there to both wise and witty. I must this night to Stone, my sovereign, for to comfort my company.
The prince, he took him by the hand and said,
Farewell, Sir William, fair and free.
Now is word come to Sir William Stanley there early in the Monday in the morning that the Earl of Derby, his brother dear, had given battle to Richard the King.
That would I not, said Sir William anon, for all the gold in Christianity, that the battle should be done, unless that he at the battle should be done.
Straight to Lichfield could he ride, in all the haste that might be, and when he came to Lichfield that tide, all they cried,
King Henry!
Henry! Straight to Bosworth can they go in all the haste that might be, but when he came Bosworth field unto, there met a royal company. The Earl of Derby thither was come, and 20,000 stood him by. Sir John Savage, his sister's son, he was the nephew of his blood so nigh. He had 1,500 fighting men that would fight and never fly. Sir William Stanley, that royal knight then, 10,000 redcoats had he. They would bicker with their bows there, they would fight and never fly. The Red Ross and the Blue Boar, the Red Rose and the Blue Boar, they were both a solemn company. Sir Rhys ap Thomas, he was thereby, with 10,000 spears of mighty tree.
And there will pause. There's a lot of people there. There's a lot of people there at the battlefront. There are some sort of slightly tricksy bits trying to decipher precisely who is messenger and messaging to who at times, so I apologise there. I haven't actually quite fully deciphered. It's slightly slippery. It could go different ways. But yeah, we've got went over to the king over the seas, has come over the sea, and yeah, definitely going to invest in taking over the kingdom. And it's all go, and I think Richard's a bit hurt. This guy is said that he'd be with him. They were having larks and chats earlier.
Yeah, and this actually makes Richard seem a little more justified in holding Stanley's son as a hostage. Usually, for example, in True Tragedy, Richard is seen as this, he preemptively seizes Stanley's son as a sort of irrational tyrant move. But this one has the Earl of Derby, Stanley, this one has the Earl openly bid battle to Richard, rather than, I think historically, the Earl went in on Richard's side and switched sides halfway through.
He hedged for a very, very long time. Yeah, a lot of hedging going on. And yes, and actually, this text doesn't really lay much of a case against Richard beyond, we're for the other guy. There's none of the. There's very little actually about Richard apart from he's the king and stuff. And I like the French king. May I commend the French king, by the way? I just like this the French kings. I am not going to give you any money. Go away.
And the porter from Cheshire. He's the other character that I kind of treasure here.
Yeah, it was lovely. Here have some gold. And the porter said, no, I won't have any gold. I'm a local lad. It's fine. Have some wine. Which I seem to recall Lady Bessy saying that was a thing not to do. But hey,
they made him go all the way to France. I think my dude deserves at least one glass of wine while he's there.
And French wine too, notoriously good.
So we've war is happening. It's all coming together. Eric.
I like how you get like the narrator throwing in stuff like, and he said, and she said, and he said, and so did this and said. It feels a bit like sort of like sports commentating, a bit, just a little bit, but not quite.
Yeah, there's a real, sometimes those things are just metrical, and sometimes those are, they're quite helpful, and sometimes you do with just one or two more, to make it clear who precisely is speaking when. Other thoughts before we finish this epic journey? How's it going to end? Who do you think's going to win? Okay, the Earl of Richmond it goes to the Earl of Derby, I believe.
The Earl of Richmond went to the Earl of Derby, and down he falleth upon his knee, said,
Father Stanley, full of might, the bard I pray you give to me, for I am come to claim my right, and fain revenged would I be.
Stand up, he said, my son, quickly. Thou hast thy mother's blessing truly. The wayward son I will give to thee, so that thou wilt be ordered by me. Sir William Stanley, my brother dear, into the battle he shall be. Sir John Savage, he hath no peer. He shall be a wing then to thee. Sir Resap Thomas shall break the array, for he will fight and never flee. I myself will hove on the hill, I say, the fair battle I will see.
King Richard, he hoveth upon the mountain. He was aware of the banner of the bold Stanley, and said,
Fetch hither the Lord Strange, certain, for he shall die this same day. To the death, Lord, thee ready make, for I tell thee certainly that thou shalt die for thy uncle's sake, wild William of Stanley. If I shall die, said the Lord Strange, then, as God forbid it should be, so be. Alas, for my lady that is at home, I should be long or she see me. But we shall meet at doomsday, when the great doom shall be.
He called for a gentleman in good say of Lancashire, both fair and free. The name of him it was Latham. A ring of gold he took from his finger, and threw it to the gentleman then, and bade him bring it to Lancashire to his lady that was at home. At her table may she sit right, or she see her lord, it may be long.
I have no foot to fly nor fight. I must be murdered with the king. If fortunate my uncle Sir William Stanley lose the field, as God forbid it should so be, pray her to take my eldest son and child, and exile him over beyond the sea. He may come in another time, by field or fleet, by tower or town, wreak so he may his father's death in fine, upon Richard of England that weareth the crown.
A knight to King Richard then did appear, that good Sir William of Harrington.
Let that lord have his life, my dear. Sir King, I pray you grant me this boon. We shall have upon this field anon the father, the son, and the uncle, all three. Then shall you deem, Lord, with your own mouth then, what shall be the death of them all three.
Then a block was cast upon the ground. Thereon the Lord's head was laid. A slave over his head can stand, and thus that time to him thus said,
In faith, there is no other booty, though, but need that thou must be dead.
Harrington in heart was full woe when he saw the Lord must needs be dead. He said,
Our raid breaketh on every side. We put our field in jeopardy.
He took up the Lord that time, King Richard after did him never see. Then they blew up the bugles of brass, that made many a wife to cry alas, and many a wife's child fatherless. They shot off guns then very fast, over their heads they could them throw. Arrows flew them between as thick as any hail or snow. And then that time might plain be seen that Resap Thomas with the Black Raven, shortly he brake their array. Then with 30,000 fighting men the Lord Percy went his way. The Duke of Norfolk would have fled with a good will with 20,000 of his company. They went up to a windmill upon a hill that stood so fair and wondrous high. There he met Sir John Savage, a royal knight, and with him a worthy company. To the death he was then dight, and his son taken prisoner was he. Then the Lord Allrose began for to flee, and so did many other mo. When King Richard that sight did see, in his heart he was never so woe.
I pray you, my merry men, be not away. For upon this field will I like a man die, for I had rather die this day than with the Stanley prisoner for to be.
A knight to King Richard gan say there, good Sir William of Harrington, he said,
Sir King, it hath no peer upon this field to death to be done, for there may no man these dints abide. Lo, your horse is ready at your hand.
Set the crown upon my head that tide, give me my battle axe in my hand. I make a vow to mild Mary that is so bright, I will die the king of merry England.
Besides his head they hewed the crown down right, that after he was not able to stand, they dung him down as they were wood. They beat his bassinet to his head until the brain came out with blood. They never left him till he was dead. Then carried they him to Leicester and pulled his head under his feet. Bessy met him with a merry cheer, and with these words that she did him greet.
How like you the killing of my brethren dear? Welcome, gentle uncle, home.
Great solace it was to see and hear when the battle it was all done. I tell you, masters, without let, when the rare red rose so fair of hue and young Bessy together met, it was great joy, I say to you. A bishop then married with a ring those two bloods of great renown. Bessy said,
Now may we sing, we two bloods are made all one.
The Earl of Derby, he was there, and Sir William Stanley, that noble knight. Upon their heads he set the crown so fair, that was made of gold so bright. There he came under a cloud, that sometime in England looked full high. But then the heart he lost his head, that after no man could him see. Oh, but Jesus, that is both bright and sheen, and born was of mild Mary, save and keep our noble king, and also the poor commonalty. Amen.
Amen. So there's lots of interesting little details in that, and also sort of little absences. It doesn't, we know Harrington sort of is standing in between the younger Stanley being killed, but it doesn't quite say that he stops at that point. It sort of does, but it sort of doesn't, and that's slightly frustrating. Richard, it's like he says, "I'm going to charge," and then he's already being hacked down almost immediately, and it's sort of like there's these little things, and they carried him to Leicester, as has been stated in the chat, where they buried him under a car park. But that's all fairly accurate in so many things. And now we may sing, we two bloods are made all one, to become one. I don't think they were thinking of the Spice Girls there, though. But maybe that was their wedding tune. I don't know. It was our song. Right. So, but generally, that all hangs together quite well. I mean, I'm thinking for a performance. I'm thinking of something that would be cut down. That there is a certain amount of extraneous matter, a certain amount of repetition. There's a certain amount of stuff, but that rollicked along rather well on the whole. I kind of want the narrator to tip his hat at the end and go, and I got lots of money, and Queen and I were like that, before she became queen. She and I, we were conspirators together. It's all down to me, really. That's sort of what the poem seems to be saying.
I would like. I think it would be in keeping for the narrator to be like, "Don't forget to tip your narrator, folks."
Yeah. Yeah. But he doesn't. To be fair, our narrator does not take money from Richmond. The one person he doesn't accept money from, he takes it from everybody else, but not the future oncoming king.
Well, he just brought all these super heavy sacks of gold over to France. He's like, Richmond probably offers him a quite heavy purse, and he's like, no.
No, don't make me the bag man. I don't want to be there.
I don't even have any more mules, dude.
Yeah. Would somebody think of the mules? So yeah, other thoughts in the room. How did you find the Battle of Bosworth? It was quite brief, actually. Once we get there, it's sort of all over and like that, which is good because we've got a poem that covers Bosworth Field. So that makes me quite happy, actually. It'd been a bit bread on bread if I did these as a double bill, which is sort of what I'm thinking. Two quite different texts, but which feed into each other quite nicely. Definitely, it's a plan. It's a plan in my head. I'm still waiting for someone to have a thought before I go around for room for final thoughts. Lynsey and then Eric.
Well, I don't know. It's not really a thought, but I'm just wondering, depending on what kind of Richard sort of evening's entertainment we devised, whether bits of this are kind of interludes as part of other things, sort of, comic interludes almost. I don't know. That was my thought. Not a great one.
It's all grist to the mill. Eric.
I find it interesting how, obviously this is the song of the Lady Bessy, but I find it interesting how Richmond is phased in and then phased out, whereas Richard gets to go on the field and get killed and stuff. And be brave and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the narrative it struggles to find something for Lady Bessy to do in the latter third of of the text. But I don't think even with the question of how true any of this is, you could make her do more without really stretching the what's going on in Bosworth and where presumably historically she actually was.
Well, I would hope that you would at least give her some pretty badass armor for the battle scene. A bit like a more medieval version of Cate Blanchett in the second Elizabeth film. That was some pretty nice armor.
Well, I say I don't know where they stated she was. I mean, I think there was she wasn't anywhere near it. So as far as this text,
well, I guess I was reading it, and I don't know where she historically was. Probably you're right. She probably wasn't near the battlefield, but I wouldn't have brought her near there in case Richard won. But it sort of because the ending is so quickly narrated, it sort of implies a very hasty post-battle wedding. And if I were directing this, I would absolutely have the crown still dripping with stage blood where it had been hewn off of Richard's head, and just have, like, William Stanley just pop it on their heads like that, like, yay, congratulations.
I'm not sure tonally the text is quite so bloodthirsty. I mean, it is a bit of a romp on the whole. It's
a romp, but there's definite bloodthirst at the end, especially in the death of Richard.
Yeah, but yeah. Okay, final thoughts in the room about this I say rather rollicking little text. I'm very very pleased with that. That's got potential. Contrasty enough with Bosworth to I feel that because this is lighter, and yeah, it's asking for a lot of physical wonder. I'd like the running on the spot kind of thing is exactly that kind of dynamic with everybody else sort of coming by and handing out letters and stuff. It's it's cool. Emma, any final thoughts about this particular text?
Yeah, I was so into this while we were reading it, and just more so as it went. I'm kind of seeing it as a very kind of, because it trips along so well, as a very kind of multi-rolling ensemble kind of piece. There's so much travel and kind of changing of location and place and people. I'm just imagining it as kind of very pacey ensemble based, props coming and going, people holding up location signposts, moving this way and that way, kind of in a cartoony way, like Eric was talking about earlier. And I also really like the way it centers on this just really intelligent, often funny woman who knows what she wants and is kind of, engineering everything and coming up with lots of solutions when people bring her problems. And I particularly love that bit in the first scene where she says, "Oh no, I can write. Do you want it in English, French, or Spanish?"
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite bits. Yeah, she's great. I really like her character.
Yeah, they really do make a thing of the languages, reading, writing, all of her accomplishments. It's very clear who's where this is placed, and it does, as I say, make the men around her really quite comic a lot of the time. Apart from the narrator, the putative author, if it is indeed, because in that case you could argue this is actually not a piece of fiction, but it could actually be taken as your pucker piece of historical document, first-hand accounting, just written in a very florid style. Eric, any final thoughts? Richmond, you won the day.
Yeah, no, yay for me. Yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of having signs and sort of like having people sort of walk on with like, yes, we are here now. But then by the time they get to that location, they have to go and get the other sign as well because obviously it's so quick. It's like, yeah, he went to Shrewsbury and then he went to, I don't know, he went to Latham. And then sort of somewhere else, and it's like, yeah, it just keeps going, and the person holding the sign would obviously get really, really annoyed about this, or just hold it upside down. I don't know, like 3 miles to whatever. Anyway, yeah, this is just me getting bogged down in the details. Pun not intended. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird text because it kind of. There's so many things about it that you can perform, like the sort of, falling to the knees, begging, maybe not dislocation of the finger. That would be kind of weird. But, yeah.
Oh, come on. You have to include that part. You have to have someone standing there with a wood block to make the noise.
Yeah, you just have someone just go, ah! Just...
Yeah, just kind of, I don't know, all the relationships are there. You just need to perform it.
And it's one of those questions of how many of the Stanleys do you actually physically, of the rebels do you need, or is it just lots and lots of two people with hats, which is sort of the way we did it here. Do you have the whole contingent, or is it just again, without trying to send it up, it just is that so fleet. In fact, actually, one of the problems with it is it actually moves so fast. It naturally wants to just gallop along, and actually sometimes it's possibly running slightly ahead of, and it's a bit too breathless to sustain that, and actually having to pull it back a bit every so often so that you can get a bit of your breath back. Probably, every time a horse gets tired. Liza, any final thoughts?
So many. I mean, this poem is lovely and engaging, and thank you for digging it up and editing it and letting us read it. It does seem to be a good companion piece to the Battle of Bosworth, as a sort of a performable poem, or a poem around which a performance could be built. I like Eric's idea of place name signs, but I also kind of love the idea of the narrator having a giant map behind them with either a pointer or like some magnetic colorful discs symbolizing various people, like sort of you've got like Britain and Great Britain and then Brittany below, and there's just little plastic boat. So then yeah, I mean, it's amazing in that the tone is very straightforward, so no matter whether they're describing a courtly conversation which very quickly becomes elaborate planning that requires great competence, and then we get the battlefield. I actually think that the use of repetition is both useful in that it fixes things in the mind of the audience, and potentially quite entertaining in terms of how you could speak it or how you could represent it. What was the other thing? There are many other things which we will discuss at many other times. Yes, yeah. I like this poem.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The repetition, what I really like is the repetition. It really does hammer home all of the people who are on Richmond's side. and you know who they are, you know their names, and that's one of the big problems we had with Bosworth Field, of going, who's this guy again, and what's his, and whose side is he on? Well, I feel I know who, Savage and Talbot and all these people are, and though there's still slightly too many Stanleys. Otherwise,
That's what Richard said.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so much clearer in my mind, and actually that works incredibly well. And I'd say, looking on the page, I thought, oh God, is it just going to be them and then? But actually, it's then, which is much more engaging. Desna, any final thoughts?
No. I've been nodding along enthusiastically with everybody else's. No, nothing original of my own to contribute, I'm afraid. Sorry.
That's cool. And Lynsey, any final thoughts from you?
Well, we've already touched on this, but I think this text understands the rule of three and its use for comedic ends, and I think that's definitely the way to go with it, whatever we end up doing with it. I think so. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's well, we've had fun. We've had fun. As reportage of a major English conflict. It's been one of the funner expositions of that. I'm aware that it doesn't matter what I'm saying now. Everyone's just looking at the cat. I don't know why I bother, really. Yeah, that's just I could close. I suppose I can't switch off now because that's all everyone wants to watch the cat, and doesn't matter what we're trying to do here. Just look at the cat. Just look at the cat. So all that remains is to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.